Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you really stop and think about it for a second, fire is literally everywhere. It cooks our food in modern kitchens. It burns brightly in sacred temples all over the world, and it marks some of life's absolute most profound transitions. But as we're going to explore today, this incredibly common, everyday element has a deeply rich, ancient, and honestly cosmic past that most of us are just completely unaware of. So, let's dive right into this, because what if I told you that the very flame dancing on your stove right now is harboring a massive, ancient secret? In this explainer, we are going to unpack the incredibly dramatic and hidden history of the fire god, Agni Dev. It's a story not just of supreme, unimaginable power, but also of intense vulnerability, overwhelming guilt, and a desperate flight across the universe that ended with him literally hiding inside cold stones. Section 1. The first cosmic deity. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to begin at the very start of recorded thought. We have to look at Agni not just as, fire, but as the fundamental spark of existence itself. In the world's oldest texts, like the Vishnu and Agni Puranas, Agni's importance is absolutely supreme. And to put that into perspective, just think about the number 200. The Rig Veda is widely considered the oldest text in the world, right? And guess who its very first mantra is dedicated to? It's not Shiva, it's not Vishnu, not even Indra. It is dedicated to Agni. And on top of that, over 200 subsequent hymns in this ancient text just sing his praises, establishing him as the Pratham Dev, or the absolute first amongst millions of deities. Now, a really crucial point is understanding how this cosmic entity actually manifests. The texts describe Agni as Tribhava, which essentially means he has 3 distinct births across the realms of the universe. His first birth happens up in the sky, as that blinding, powerful flash of lightning. His second birth is right in the air around us, felt as the life-giving heat of sunlight. And his third birth? Well, that's right here on Earth, literally sparked into existence through the friction of human hands striking stones together. And you've got to try to picture this mesmerizing anatomy, because the ancient texts describe him in such a wild way. They visualize Agni with 2 heads, one specifically to feed immortal gods and the other to deliver food to our ancestors. He also has 7 distinct tongues of flame, carrying fierce names like Kali and Karali. His body is this brilliant red and gold, glowing like a spectacular sunset, and he actually rides a ram, which symbolizes absolute purity. Section 2. The Divine Messenger. So Agni isn't just sitting around looking magnificent. The guy has a serious job to do. He serves as the ultimate, irreplaceable communication bridge between the human world and the divine realm. And because of this incredibly important role, Agni holds the title Jadaveda. This translates to the one who knows everything. He is the ultimate cosmic witness. Every single thought you have, every action you take in front of a flame, Agni sees it and he remembers it. This is exactly why lying in front of a fire is considered such a grave sin in these ancient traditions. And it's also why the sacred fire is always the eternal, unforgetting witness to marriages. But here's the thing. Agni doesn't work alone. This is where we get to introduce his incredibly powerful wife, goddess Swaha. When offerings are made into the fire, the mantra Swaha is chanted. And why is that? Because she is the goddess without whom absolutely no offering is complete. It is the perfect union of Agni and Swaha that actually transforms physical offerings into sacred smoke, successfully delivering our human prayers directly up to the waiting gods. But here is where our story takes a really surprising turn. We kind of have to ask, can the all-powerful god of fire actually get sick? It sounds crazy, right? But the astonishing answer is yes. During this legendary era, a great king conducted a continuous, massive yajna, a sacred fire ritual that lasted for 12 uninterrupted years. Just imagine that. For 12 years, Agni consumed endless offerings of rich ghee and herbs. And the result? Severe cosmic indigestion. He suffered from complete and utter exhaustion. His flames faded away and his massive power waned. Section 3. Burning the Khandava Forest. Desperate and terribly weak, the fading fire gods sought help. Brahma prescribed a really massive remedy. He told Agni he had to consume the entire mystical Khandava forest, which was filled with ancient creatures and deep magic, just to reignite his cosmic strength. But it wasn't going to be that easy. Agni actually faced 12 humiliating defeats. You see, the forest was home to the snake king Takshaka, who happened to be a close friend of the mighty rain god Indra. So every single time the weakened Agni tried to spark a fire in the forest, Indra simply summoned torrential rain clouds and put him out. 12 times the god of fire was utterly defeated by the god of rain.
At this point, Agni realized he just couldn't win alone. He needed an unexpected alliance. Disguising himself as this glowing, radiant Brahmin, the desperate fire god approached two humans resting by a river. These were Arjuna and Krishna, the earthly incarnations of the cosmic forces Nara and Narayana. Agni literally begged them for their protection so he could finally consume the forest.
Now, Arjuna and Krishna agreed to help out, but they needed weapons to fight the rain god's divine army. So Agni actually called upon the ocean god Varuna. Arjuna received the legendary Gandiva bow, a quiver that never ran out of arrows, and a divine chariot. Krishna received the devastating Sudarshana chakra and the mighty Komadaki mace. So think about this. In his desperate bid to cure his own sickness, Agni inadvertently armed these two heroes with the exact divine weapons that would later shape the entire history of the epic Mahabharata war. Talk about a game changer. Armed with these legendary weapons, the climax of this battle was just spectacular. While Agni furiously devoured the forest, Indra unleashed the heaviest rains the world had ever seen. But Arjuna fired his arrows so incredibly fast that they formed a literal impenetrable canopy across the entire sky. The rain just couldn't get through. Protected beneath this massive shield of arrows, Agni finally consumed the forest, his flames turning the sky red as he regained his full, roaring strength.
Yet, despite regaining all of this immense power, Agni would very soon face a moment of deep, profound vulnerability. We have to ask ourselves, if he is so incredibly powerful, why did the fire god eventually flee and hide himself inside a cold stone? Well, it all traces back to a fateful day at the ashram of the great Rishi Bhrigu.
Section 4. The Curse and the Escape. It all started when Rishi Bhrigu had to leave his ashram for a short time, and he entrusted Agni to guard his pregnant wife, Paloma. But the very moment the sage left, a vengeful demon who had long harbored a grudge against Paloma's family arrived at the ashram. The demon demanded to know Paloma's true identity. And here is where the profound tragedy hits. Remember Agni's title, Jataveda, the eternal witness? Bound by his very nature as the absolute cosmic truth, Agni physically could not lie. He was forced to identify Paloma to the demon. Agni just had to watch, paralyzed by his own nature as the demon abducted the pregnant woman he was sworn to protect. When Rishi Bhrigu returned and learned what had happened, his fury was absolutely unmatched. He cursed Agni to become a Sarva Bhakshi, which is an omnivore forced to consume absolutely everything, pure or impure. Overwhelmed by shame and guilt at his failure, the fire god fled. First, he hid inside the wood of the forests. When he was found there, he fled into the freezing depths of the ocean, literally making the waters boil. Finally, seeking absolute obscurity, the first cosmic deity shrank himself all the way down and hid inside ordinary cold flintstones. So the universe grew incredibly cold and dark without its fire. Finally, Brahma intervened. He picked up 2 flintstones and struck them together, forcing a spark, literally forcing Agni out of hiding. And Brahma offered this really profound thought, completely reframing the terrible curse. He said, "You are an omnivore because you purify everything." Brahma showed Agni that consuming both the pure and the impure wasn't a punishment at all. It was his ultimate sacred duty to the universe. Whatever touches fire is completely cleansed. Section 5. The Real Agni Pariksha. This incredible realization about fire's true nature directly reframes one of the most famous and fiercely debated stories in all of ancient literature, Madhusita's trial by fire. According to the specific details in the Valmiki Ramayana, the story we all think we know is actually incomplete. As Jataveda, the all-knowing witness, Agni foresaw that the demon king Ravana was coming to abduct Sita. So before Ravana even arrived, Agni secretly approached Sita. Agni actually took the real Sita and hid her safely away inside his own protective flames. He left behind a Chaya Sita, an illusion, a shadow. It was this shadow, and absolutely not the real Sita, that was captured and taken to Lanka. Therefore, when the war ended and Sita stepped into the flames, it was never actually a fiery test of her purity. The shadow Sita entered the fire, and Agni gracefully returned the unblemished real Sita right back to Rama. So you see, it was not a test of character at all, but rather a carefully orchestrated divine reunion facilitated by the great protector himself. And this beautifully summarizes the ultimate philosophical takeaway of all of this. These ancient stories tell us that fire destroys only to purify and causes pain only to liberate. Just as raw ore has to be burned in a furnace to extract pure gold, humanity and the cosmos itself are purified through fiery trials.
Agni is not just destruction, he is the literal mechanism of ultimate liberation.
So I want to leave you with this final, crazy thought to ponder. The next time you strike a match or ignite your modern lighter, remember the incredible story we've walked through today. Are you just creating a simple chemical reaction, or are you in fact striking those ancient flintstones and releasing a tiny spark of the very same cosmic energy, the Pratham Dev, that once burned down mystical forests and hid from the shame of the universe? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the everyday miracles around you.